I never imagined that silence could be so loud. For 20 years, my home had been filled with laughter, arguments, and the comforting rhythm of an ordinary family. My husband, Amir, was a man of quiet strength, and our son, Zain, had always been the bridge between us, my reason to smile even when life felt heavy. But lately, something had changed. It began with the small things. Missed dinners, late-night phone calls that ended the moment I entered the room. The scent of perfume on Amir's shirt that wasn't mine. I told myself not to think too much. We were both busy, growing older, maybe just drifting. Every couple does, right? That's what I told my heart, the heart that had begun to doubt the man it loved most. Zain noticed it first. He was 20, sharp-eyed, and too protective for his own good. "Ami, you should rest," he'd say whenever I waited late for Amir. "He'll be home soon." His tone carried something I couldn't name, like pity mixed with guilt. I brushed it aside, not wanting to see what was right in front of me. One evening, as the monsoon rain tapped against the windows, I asked Amir directly, "Are you seeing someone else?" He didn't answer at first. Just looked at me, eyes tired, expression unreadable. Then he smiled, the same smile that had once melted my anger. "You're imagining things, Sara," he said softly. "Don't let your loneliness make up stories." That night, I couldn't sleep. The house felt smaller, the air heavier. I watched the clock tick past midnight, then 1, then 2. My phone buzzed. A message. But not from him, from Zain. "Ami, please don't ask Abu questions tonight. Let things calm down. I'll explain tomorrow." Explain what? My mind spun. The next morning, Amir left early without breakfast. Zain avoided my eyes. Something was breaking, quietly, invisibly, and I couldn't stop it. By afternoon, I went into Amir's study, searching for answers I wasn't sure I wanted to find. His laptop was open, the screen glowing faintly. I shouldn't have looked, but my hands moved before I could stop them. An email, a name I didn't recognize. Words I can't forget. And at the bottom, Zain's reply, short, hesitant, protective. Greater than, "Please don't tell my mother." The world stopped spinning. My son knew. That was the moment the first crack became a wound, not just in my marriage, but in the bond I thought could never break. The next morning, the sunlight felt cruel, too bright for a house filled with shadows. Amir had already left for work, leaving behind the usual half-finished cup of tea and the echo of a door that didn't wait for goodbye. Zain sat at the kitchen table, pretending to read. But his eyes kept drifting, restless, avoiding mine. The silence between us felt heavier than any storm. "Zain," I said finally, my voice steadier than my heart, "what is it that you didn't want me to know?" He froze. For a second, I saw the child he used to be, the little boy who once hid broken toys behind his back, terrified I'd be disappointed. Now he was hiding something far greater, something I couldn't repair. "Ami, please," he whispered. "You won't understand." "Then help me understand," I said, stepping closer. I read the email. His face drained of color. He stood up so suddenly the chair scraped against the floor. "You weren't supposed to see that," he said, anger and fear tangled in his voice. "Then tell me why my son is answering messages meant for his father," I demanded. My hands trembled, not with rage, but with heartbreak. "Who was that woman, Zain?" He didn't answer. The silence stretched until it broke me. I turned away, afraid my tears would undo whatever strength I had left. Finally, he spoke, quietly, carefully. "Her name is Nadia. She works with Abu. I found out months ago." The words landed like stones in my chest. "And you said nothing." "I tried, Ami," he said, his voice cracking. "I told him to stop. I begged him. He promised he would. But when you started noticing, he told me not to interfere. I didn't want to see you get hurt." His confession burned through me. All those evenings he told me to rest, all those times he changed the subject, they weren't small kindnesses. They were shields, fragile ones, between me and the truth. I sank into the chair he'd left empty. So everyone knew but me. Zain knelt beside me, his eyes wet. "Not everyone. Just me. I thought I could fix it before you found out." I wanted to hate him, to shout, to demand how a son could keep such a thing from his mother. But I couldn't. Because beneath his guilt, I saw love, desperate, clumsy love. He reached for my hand, but I couldn't move. The space between us had changed forever. At that moment, I realized the betrayal wasn't just Amir's. It was woven into the walls of our home, carried by silence, protected by love that had lost its way. Outside, thunder rolled again, the kind that warns of storms long before the rain falls. When Amir came home that evening, the air in the house had already shifted. The scent of rain clung to his coat, his shoes left faint marks on the marble floor. I stood waiting in the living room, hands clasped, heart silent. He smiled faintly, like a man returning to peace after a long day. "You're up," he said, hanging his keys on the hook. "Did you eat?" I didn't answer. "Where were you last night?" I asked instead. His smile faltered. "Work dinner. I told you. Work dinner with Nadia." The name tasted like metal on my tongue. The pause that followed was too long, too real. He didn't deny it. He just exhaled, shoulders sagging, as if a burden he had carried for months had finally slipped free. "So you know," he said quietly. "I know enough," I replied. "I know my son begged you to stop. I know you lied to me every day while pretending this house still meant something." He closed his eyes, and for a moment, I saw regret. But regret is a weak thing when it comes too late. "Sara," he began, voice low and trembling, "I never meant for it to happen. It was supposed to be nothing, a distraction. You were distant, I was lonely, and don't," I cut him off. "Don't you dare make this about me." The words came out sharper than I expected. They sliced through the room, through the years we'd built together. He sat down, hands covering his face. "I tried to end it," he whispered. "But she threatened to tell you. Zain found out, and I thought, maybe it was better to keep you safe from the truth." Safe. That word again. The same word Zain had used. Safe from what? From honesty. From love that had grown too fragile to face the light. "You didn't keep me safe," I said. "You kept me blind." Amir looked up, eyes glassy. "I still love you, Sara." The irony was unbearable. Love, spoken now, felt like an insult. The kind that doesn't heal, it only reminds you where the wound lies. I turned away, unable to look at him any longer. The rain outside had started again, drumming against the windows, drowning the silence we both deserved. Zain stood quietly in the hallway, listening but saying nothing. He looked older than his years, burdened by truths he was never meant to carry. For the first time in 2 decades, I saw my family for what it was, not broken by one mistake, but by a chain of choices made in fear, pride, and silence. And though the storm raged outside, I felt a strange calm settle inside me. The truth was out. What remained was the decision, whether to stay or to walk away. The morning after the storm, the world felt unnaturally quiet. The rain had washed everything clean, the streets, the trees, even the sky. But inside me, nothing felt pure. The silence that once comforted me now pressed on my chest like a weight I couldn't lift. Amir had slept on the couch. I hadn't slept at all. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw the faces of the 2 people I loved most, both bound to a lie that neither could escape. When he woke, I was already dressed. A suitcase rested by the door, not his, but mine. He looked at it, then at me. "Sara, please, don't do this." "I'm not leaving out of anger," I said quietly. "I'm leaving because I need to remember who I am without your lies." He reached for me, but stopped halfway. Maybe he finally understood that some distances can't be crossed with words. Zain came out of his room then, eyes red from a night without sleep. "Ami, don't go," he said, voice trembling. "Abu is sorry. We can fix this." I smiled, though it felt fragile. "Some things can be mended, Zain. But not all at once. Not under the same roof where the hurt was born." He stepped closer. "Then let me come with you." "No," I said softly, touching his cheek. "You need to stay. This is your home, and your father needs you now more than ever. Don't punish him with my absence." He looked torn, as if my leaving was another wound he couldn't heal. I wished I could take away his pain, but perhaps this was how we both would learn, that love doesn't always mean staying. Sometimes it means walking away with dignity. Before I left, I turned to Amir one last time. His eyes held regret, but no excuses. Maybe that was the only apology left to give. I hope one day, I said, you learn what loyalty truly costs, not in years, but in trust. He nodded, unable to speak. Outside, the sun had just begun to break through the clouds. The air smelled of wet earth and something faintly new, freedom, maybe, or forgiveness waiting to be earned. As I walked down the familiar street, I realized I wasn't just leaving a home. I was leaving behind the woman who stayed quiet to keep the peace. The story of my marriage had ended, yes, but somewhere beyond that horizon, a new story waited. One where I could breathe again. One where truth wasn't something to fear. And though the pain would stay for a while, I knew this much: sometimes the bravest act of love is choosing yourself.